Kids, we're hanging out with Luis Belmonte. He's going to be helping us learn a little bit more about commercial property and who knows, maybe even a little bit about investing in general. Luis, thanks for joining us.
Happy to be here.
I like it. You know, you're not coming to sell anything. You're just coming to add value. And we really do appreciate that here at vastsolutionsgroup.com. You've entered really what we call vast voices, telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. And I think a lot of people out there are going to learn some information from you because you've been doing commercial property stuff for a while.
Since the earth cooled.
All right. How about this? Why commercial? Why should let's say most of our people are anywhere in the United States, by the way, most of them are pretty well heeled, pretty good net worth. Why should they, let's say they're investing in retail or, duplexes or flipping homes. Why should they do commercial property investing?
Number one, diversification. You ought to always have diversification in any investment strategy, both geographically, product type, whatever. So assuming you have the aptitude for it and the nerves for it, and if you're already doing residential, then you understand about collecting rent and unplugging toilets. There's no reason not to do a little retail, a little industrial, especially small unit industrial. Right now, you can buy office buildings for 15, 20 cents on the dollar. If you've got nerves of steel and you're prepared to hang on for a while, you can make good money doing that. So assuming that you're willing to reach out a little bit, there's nothing the matter with commercial real estate at all. And especially, there's not that much sophisticated competition in deals $5 million and under. If you get above that, the big dogs are there and you're competing against people who are writing checks with other people's money, which I try and avoid like the plague. But if you stay with smaller deals, there's money to be made.
All right. I'm going to play devil's advocate. As a reminder, again, all our people are pretty well heeled. Usually they're entrepreneurs, real estate investors, and again, anywhere in the United States, and they're going to be watching and listening to this. So, why commercial properties now, though, versus, 10 or 15 years ago? Who knows? Aren't people moving, into the suburbs and, moving to whatever, Puerto Rico, away from downtown centers where a lot of the, commercial properties would be,
Well, that is overblown in terms of the actual stats. In San Francisco, the population is actually growing again. We lost a lot during COVID, but it's coming back. So, and a lot of the people that have come across the southern border are going to end up in cities. So, New York has theoretically been dying for the entire time I've been in the business, but hadn't quite happened yet. So, urban areas are urban areas. The other thing, and I'll tell you a quick story that I tell you why I think urban is here to stay.
Okay.
Years ago, I was on a consulting team talking to a biotech company in Emeryville, California, one of the big players in the business. And I'm talking to the CEO, who's got at least 20 IQ points on me and a PhD in something I can't pronounce. And he has made a really stupid real estate investment, in my view. He has bought an option on a piece of land on the island of Alameda, which is just off Oakland. And I said, why'd you spend all that money to buy an option on that crappy piece of ground that's owned by a developer who's a sleazebag and can't finance the infrastructure and it's hard to get to? And he said, because I've heard that UCSF might open a new campus there, and UCSF is the big medical school in San Francisco that's a giant biotech hub. And I said, well, that's a possibility. The fools in the Soviet Socialist Republic of San Francisco are doing everything possible to prevent UCSF from expanding. And that's one of the places they're rumored they might be going. And so I said, that's not irrational from that perspective. But, why do you need to be next to UCSF? Do you share scientists? Do you share equipment? Are you working on projects together? He said, no, I just want my scientists to eat lunch with their scientists. And, this light bulb went off over my head. Why tech conglomerates happen? Why people come to Silicon Valley, why people come from India and Taiwan, and it's because they need to be in the same room with other people who are doing the same kind of thing. So in the old days, employees used to chase employers. So, my wife's ancestors were on the oil trail. They ended up at all kinds of obscure places where there were oil wells because that's where there was work. It's reversed these days. Employers chase employees. So young, hip people want to live in urban areas and go to those nightclubs and listen to those concerts and hang out with people like themselves. So the employers are chasing them, and they got to get people who together in the same room having lunch together to swap ideas. So that's what makes urban stuff go, and I don't think it will go away. And it's harder to do that in the suburbs than it is in an urban area. So I don't think urban ends. And right now, as an example, I was offered a chance to invest in an office building. I mean, the economics were incredible. And these buddies of mine were buying this thing for literally 20 cents on the dollar of replacement. And I said, guys, this is one of the greatest deals I've ever seen. But at my age, I don't even buy green bananas. And it's a 7-year turnaround. So, this is not my deal demographically, but you guys are going to slice a fat hog. You're going to buy it for $150 a foot, spend 50 or 100 to get it released and re-tenanted. And put new TIs in and sell it for $1,000 a foot 5 years from now. You're slice a fat hog. So, there's opportunity there if you want to take it.
Yeah, boy, Belmonte is funny. All right, let's talk about some rehab. I love your ideas so far, by the way. Plus, your humor is funny. So let's just say I'm looking at a building. I don't know. Let's say it's a $10 million commercial property.
Yeah.
Any type of building. What are some of the things I should think about when buying that building or making that offer? I know it's a hard question, but I'm going to throw you a hard one.
Well, number one, do as much due diligence and destructive testing as possible. Get structural engineers, building inspectors, contractors, property managers, and brokers, and get all of the advice you can about everything that's wrong with it. That's number one. Number two, add 20 or 30%, because once you start to open stuff up, it's never the alligator you're watching that bites you in the ass. So there's something else in the swamp there. So you need to be sure you got an adequate budget to do the rehab. The second thing is never be an artiste. People go in and they think, they got the architect in tow and the designer in tow, and they think they're going to create a masterpiece when they do a rehab. Get over that and figure out what your target constituency is. And one of the first deals I did, a buddy of mine and I bought a house it had been rented for a while, and we bought it out of an estate, and we bought it really right and tight, great price. And we decided that we would go in and turn it into a thing of beauty. And we spent a year refinishing the floors, rehabbing all the windows, putting in a new kitchen, adding a bathroom, and we went to sell it, and we were several $1,000s above the going rate. And it's a cookie cutter neighborhood. Nobody was going to pay us extra money for a house that looked like every other house on the block. We got slaughtered. And if we'd gone in and done some paint, carpet, and turned around and sold it, we'd have made good money, but our egos got in the way. So you got to be sure to get your ego out of it. And then the other thing is be sure that you can endure. You go in, you do your rehab, and the market is different when you finish than when you started. You got to be able to hang on and not be forced to sell. The other problem we had, we got a 2-year carryback from the estate, and we had no idea how to refinance anything. So we're up against it. We had to sell and take a bath. So we had no exit strategy, and we hadn't assessed the exit market properly. So keep your ego out of it. And then when you're doing your rehab, figure out what your target constituency is and work your rehab to the constituency, not your own taste.
It really is true that, kind of dovetailing that or augmenting that, you really make your money when you buy. It really is true with respect.
Well, you make your money when you buy. You make your money. You make your money saving on your rehab. Doing Correct. Appropriate rehab, and you make your money on timing. So the guy I used to work for, Hamid Moghadam, who's the chairman and CEO of Prologis, the biggest REIT in the world, his motto is big money in real estate is made by those who have cash when nobody else does.
Yeah.
And we used to do an assessment of every property we owned and decide whether the market was paying above value or below value for that asset. And if the market was paying above value, we sold it. And if the market was paying below value, we kept it. So, and at one point, we're running funds for institutional investors. And normally, guys who run funds hang on to the fees for dear life. And the fund's got like a 7-year life with 3 1-year extensions. They hold on till year 10, keep the fees. In year 5, Hamid sold off an entire portfolio because the market was frothy and got a 20+ IRR for the investors, and we lost all the fees. But magically enough, they all invested in the next fund.
Yeah.
So, the point is, when the market's frothy, sell. When the market's in the toilet, buy.
Yeah, and that's in line with what I'm talking about. What I mentioned, you make money when you buy on the buy side. Yeah. And what's funny is, which is crazy, people love buying at the top. They love talking about, at cocktail parties about whatever, commercial real estate or whatever the case is. But at the bottom, they're really quiet. They're not out there.
Well, it's like the gambler special bus back from Reno or Vegas. The winners are all talking, the losers are quiet.
Yeah, that's exactly right. You're supposed to buy at the bottom, sell at the top. It's just the capitalistic way doesn't seem to work in that favor. It's just crazy though.
And you're never going to find the bottom or the top and quit trying. But when something's in the toilet, it's general. You don't need to find the sewage system. Just if the toilet is flush, that's the time. And when people are talking about it at cocktail parties, sell.
Yeah, that makes perfect sense, and that's in any market, but mainly I would say more so in commercial properties.
And there's always a cycle, because America is the joy of capitalism. If some is good, more is better. Developers will overbuild anything, and the lenders are always 3 days late and $2 short. They're making loans on deals that worked yesterday and the day before. So when the market is going, the money's there, the developers are in, the tide is running, and you get to the top of the market, and we do it every time. I mean, the cycle is the cycle. And there's one guy who I follow that has a clock, and he has every product type on the clock where it is, and 12 o'clock is total froth, and like 4 o'clock is total toilet. And so, and every product type for my entire career is got a cycle. Now, the differentiation is flat spots. So if you're in Atlanta, Denver, Dallas, Houston, where you can get on a ladder and see 3 states away, the cycles go faster. So when I was working in Dallas, in the old days, I was a buyer in the 20s and a seller in the 30s of warehouse space. If you could buy a good warehouse for $20-something a foot, I wanted to buy. But as soon as the market got better, everybody started building. And as soon as the prices got to $30 a foot, you wanted to sell, because pretty soon they'd be back to 20, because everybody over 2 feet tall in Dallas is a developer, and they'd throw up more, and there'd be more tax incentives, and so if you're in flat spots, you got to be more attuned to the cycles, because they go faster. If you're in places with terrain, which is physical terrain or political terrain, the cycle goes slower, because it's harder to get something built.
Yep, that makes perfect sense what you're saying. Because since we're almost out of time, this is what I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask if you and I later can do kind of a longer chat about commercial property real estate, maybe the cycles, economic cycles, et cetera. Because I think that it sounds like you have a lot of wisdom. I think you're one of those guys who'd be interesting to for the audience, because I know that a lot of them are now looking at commercial property a lot more than they used to, because I think they're finding out that commercial property, you kind of tap out in the retail world. It, sometimes makes sense to go from whatever duplexes, single family homes, et cetera, to now fourplex, to buying small buildings, et cetera, et cetera. So that would be my request of you. Are you interested in that?
Absolutely. And I could also talk about investing in REITs because I was one of the founders of what the predecessor of Prologis, and I do understand the REIT numbers if anybody's interested in going that route and staying liquid, but still investing in real estate. So we can also talk about that.
Let's do it. Let's do it. Hey, for the short time we've talked, I've appreciated it. Excuse me, I've appreciated it. I'm a little cold. And I know that those will really like our second part that we're going to be doing here in just a little bit. So once again, thank you very much. And for all those people who are out there watching and listening, this is a Vast Voice telling business secrets to entrepreneurs. Thanks, everybody.
Yeah.